Well, thanks for coming, everyone. For the camera purposes, I'm Kelly. I'm Jerry's wife and assistant. I'm usually behind the camera, where I feel much more comfortable. But since I do Jerry's flyers and newsletters, he has me step in this week. So we're on week 6 of the new agent training, and it's flyers and newsletters. So we're going to jump right into flyers. Now, this isn't the only way to do flyers, but this is the way we do flyers. So this is what I teach, and I can help you and answer any questions you have about this. And if you use another program, I'd be happy to try to help you. I'm just not as familiar. So the way we make our flyers is we do it through realtyjuggler.com. So we're going to go to that. We sign in. Several of you here are using Realty Juggler, so that's good. When you get this screen with all the icons, you go to flyers. And then if you have the free version of Realty Juggler, you don't have this many choices. And if you have the paid version, you have more choices. But even with the free version, you have enough choices. I'm going to scroll down to the flyer that I normally use, which is, I passed around samples earlier. I use this one. Okay, there it is. There we go. So anyone you pick, it opens up like this. You have to have Adobe Reader and the right version of Adobe Reader to use this. So if you don't have the right version of Adobe Reader, when you, in fact, let me go back one, sorry. When you go to this page that has all the flyers, you can come right up here to the top, and it says that you can download the Adobe Reader that you need there. So they make it really easy. Another reason why we like Realty Juggler is you can also, up here, anything that you're working on, flyers, you know, whatever, if you get stuck, there's always a tutorial. So you can just click on the tutorial and it'll walk you through whatever your problem is. So you can try that, you can call me, you can do whatever you'd like to try to suffer through that. Okay, I'm opening that up again, which is going to take a minute. So anyway, so the reason we like this program is it's easy. So it pops up like this, and then you can change wording. Normally, if we're going to put this in a flyer box, if you're following Jerry's 10 Things to Sell Houses, then you know that we're going to put the sign up on Thursday, and we're going to fill the flyer box. And we're going to do the open house on Saturday. So usually I'll do something like open house. I try to spell it right. And then in this section, I'll usually put the information about the open house. Saturday and Sunday, 1 to 4, or whatever it happens to be. So you can change any of the lettering, and then for pictures you just double click on them. You open up whatever file happens to be, I can't talk and search at the same time, sorry. Whatever file has your pictures in it. And then you just pick whatever pictures you want. I normally do a picture of the front. See how it just pops in there. I usually do a picture of the kitchen. When you do your flyers, just think about what it is that people want to see. When people are interested in the house, they want to see, you know, if it has a pool in the back, they want to see that. If it has a remodeled kitchen, they want to see that. Normally, people want to see bathrooms and kitchens. This one happened to have a cool backyard. So, you know, whatever you think is going to entice them to come back to the open house on Saturday or Sunday. And then, obviously, you put in the address, whatever that happens to be. I won't waste a lot of time with this. Oh. Or maybe I will. Whatever the price happens to be, again, you change that. Now, the thing I change with these flyers is this section right here, the description. I find that it's easier to read things that are like in bullet form rather than paragraph form. And I think when people pick up a flyer, they just want to know the stuff. You know, the stuff about the house. They want to know how many bedrooms it has. They want to know what the square footage is. They want to know, you know, all the stuff you want to tell them about the house. And I think it's just easier if they can read it in a list form. Normally you would just take this stuff straight from your description. Just works like most any other programs. You can highlight this whole section out, maybe. And you can replace it with, okay, it's not going to let me do that. So, just whatever the specs on the house are, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, whatever it is, 1,275 square feet. Close to schools. Anyway, whatever you want to tell them to, again, entice them to come back, you're selling the house. You're selling the house with this flyer, but also you're selling you with the flyer. In fact, probably more importantly, you're selling you with the flyer. You want them to come back to the open house, but you also want them to know what kind of a realtor you are. And your flyer will tell them that. It'll, you know, if you have black and white flyers or no flyers or sloppy flyers or, you know, flyers without pictures, that tells them a lot about you. And more importantly, who do you think picks up all the first 20 flyers?
We're serious?
Nope, all the neighbors. So, and who are your potential sellers? Obviously the neighbors. If they see that you're doing all the right things with this listing, then they're going to want you for their listing. So your flyer actually sells you as well as the house. So anyway, you get the idea. List it so it's easy to read. Like I said, I think people just want to pick it up, see the stuff that they want to see, and be done. Now, so since you're selling you, this is a really important section here. And that's where you put in all of your personal information. And you guys, except for probably Blake, you've all heard the story about how I made these flyers for Jerry one time and printed 60 of them with all Jerry's information and that girl's picture.
It looks better to you.
Well, you know.
I've done stupid stuff like that.
Exactly. So just proofread, 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 proofread. That's the moral of that story. So you're going to put your name in, obviously.
It looks good now.
It does. Now, just because these say office, cell, you know, whatever, it doesn't mean you have to put that in. In fact, what I usually do is, because we only use Jerry's cell phone number, we don't use the office number on our flyers, I'll put his tagline in there. And Jerry's tagline is your neighborhood realtor. And why is it your neighborhood realtor? Anybody know that? Because people believe what you tell them. So if you tell people that you're the neighborhood realtor in that area, they believe you.
So is it okay to plagiarize Jerry's tagline?
No. We will hunt you down like a dog. I don't know why this, okay. there we go.
It's not in my neighborhood.
I could lie to you and say, it's copyrighted or something. Anyway, so that's where you would put in any kind of tagline, anything else you might want them to know. And then obviously change the phone number. You can put in your web address, you can put in your email address, or a lot of times I will put in something like, I'd love to help you buy or sell. Again, people sometimes need to be told that you do this stuff. A lot of times people think listing agents don't help buyers. A lot of times people think buyer's agents don't help sellers. So put in whatever you'd like. Then the pictures and the logo changes just like the pictures up top. So you just click on it, you pick a picture, it pops in, same thing with the logo. Anybody know where we find our logos?
Website?
Yep, on our Realty One website.
You can take them, we can take them right off there?
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, you should, because it has all the right font, the right sizing, the right colors.
It's like downloadable or actually just save and copy it from the website?
No, downloadable.
Downloadable.
Yeah, different file formats
Yeah.
too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, different
Two or three
colors,
file formats.
white
Yeah.
backgrounds, black backgrounds,
Cool.
whatever. So anyway, then, so once you have your flyer, then you can just save it, just like you would any other PDF doc, you know, save it on your desktop or whatever. And the reason that's important is because sometimes your flyers change and you don't want to do the whole flyer again. So say you've done the open house and now you're going to leave flyers for the rest of the week. Or in Jerry's case, he'll have it sold by Wednesday, so you only need 3 days worth of flyers. So then I change the open house to, I usually do something corny like welcome home. Again, people believe what you tell them. And then, of course, I take the open house information out, and I might put, like on this house, I might put something like, you know, great, entertaining backyard. Again, just something that sells the house, something that entices them, something that gets them to call you. So, any questions about these? No? We're all good? Yeah. Flyers are pretty easy. Once you start using the program, you might, you know, forget or, you know, not remember how to do something. Again, you can always call me. So let's go ahead and jump right into newsletter. Okay. Again, Jerry drills it into your head. Use whatever's free. Free is good. CAR lets us make a newsletter through their website that's free. And not only do they have the program to make the newsletter, but they also do articles and stuff that we can use. So that's what makes this so easy. So you're going to go to car.org, and they just moved this around a little bit and made it even harder to get to. Go under the Learn and Thrive tab, and then you go to Marketing Tools. It used to be right here. They've moved it again. If you click on any of these, you get this little menu over to the right. If you click on Marketing Tools, then you're looking for Client Direct. So you click on that. Just when you think you're there, you have to scroll all the way to the bottom of this and click on Client Direct again. And that gives you where we're going to make the newsletter.
And that's
So-
bookmark it.
What?
And then bookmark it.
Yeah.
I have a bookmark it.
So when you're just starting, you're gonna hit the tab that says Get Started, and that'll have you put in all your information and set a password and things like that. Once you've done all that, all you have to do is log in. Okay, so you get to the control panel of the newsletter. And you're going to control everything from this left-hand menu here. So when you first start, you're going to have to put all this kind of stuff in. Your picture, your name, your address, all your contact information, and you do that by editing profile. You just click this button here and it'll ask you all the questions. If you use a tagline like Jerry does, your neighborhood realtor, there's no place for that. So you have to Mickey Mouse it. And the way you do that is you use your name as your first name, and then you use your tagline as your last name. And then sometimes you have to play with the spacing a little bit. So that's how you get a tagline in there. Everything else is pretty straightforward. You'll just fill in the blanks. Once you have all that stuff in there and you save it, then every time you go in, it'll automatically be there. And it'll always be on your newsletter. So if you change any of that information, you have to go in and change it. But other than that, it's there all the time. So the newsletter, to see it, you hit Preview Newsletter. And your newsletter will look something like this. When you set up your newsletter, you can pick colors. It has a default picture that is not this one. I used the default picture for quite some time and then I just got bored. So I change it now kind of seasonally, kind of loosely. But so this will always be here. So Jerry was talking earlier about giving your newsletter a catchy name. That's mostly just so that your clients will recognize it as you every time. If you call it the same thing all the time, they'll know, oh, that's Rob's newsletter. You know, oh, that's Chastity's newsletter. Because people don't always recognize this stuff in their inboxes, right? So when you edit your profile and set up your newsletter with the colors and all of that, then you can name it, you can do all the stuff that stays there permanently. So the stuff you're going to change every month is the stuff that's under features and the stuff that's under articles and advice. And the way we're going to do that is you go to Listings and Articles. So this is the back end of your newsletter. So the things that were under features that had the little pictures, those are the two things that are up here on the top. And they're already there because our newsletter is set up. So if I had 4 of them, there'd be 4 of them there instead of 2 of them. If I only had 1, there'd only be 1. And then everything that was below that is under the articles and advice. So the way you change those is, if you want to make your own, you hit the Add button, and you get a screen that should look familiar to most of you, that you put in a title, a web link, and then a description. You don't have, I'm not sure how many characters it is, but you don't have a lot of characters in the description, so you have to keep that really concise for those. But the better feature is Browse. If you hit Browse, you get all the ones that Cara has already done for us. And they're going to be listed under, we have a lot of them because we've been doing the newsletter for a long time. But they're going to say feature in this right-hand column. So let's see what they have in March. So you see the dates right here, that's when they're put into the program. So at the beginning of March, they put a bunch of them in for us. At the beginning of April, they'll put a bunch more in. So you can go in and you can pick any of those. If you want to see them, then you just click on them and they open up in a separate box here. Make sure you read them. I probably shouldn't say this on camera, but just because they come from CAR doesn't mean they're good. Okay, you don't want to, Rob's shaking his head. You don't want to send out a bad article. Sometimes they're good articles, but we don't want to send them to our client. Sometimes there'll be articles like how to pick a great realtor, and it tells them to go out and interview 6 realtors. Okay, that's probably really good advice, but we don't want to tell them that because they already have the best realtor, right? They have you. So you don't want to send stuff like that to your client. Make sure that you're reading them also to make sure that they apply to whenever you're sending them out. You don't want to send something out in February that refers to fall things or has a Thanksgiving recipe or something like that. So you just want to make sure you read them. The other reason to read them is you don't want a client calling you and saying, "Hey Blake, I read that article that you wrote." Yes, they're going to think you wrote them. "I read that article you wrote about whatever." You don't want to go, I have no idea what you're talking about. So make sure you read everything that you send out to your clients. So you can just click on them. Like I said, you can send things that have been prepared prior to, in this case, March, but just read them and make sure that they still apply. You don't want to be sending them last year's tax information or, something like that. So that's how those work. And then the other section has articles and advice. And this is where, I'm sorry, let me back up. If you're going to add a listing, this is where you do it. Now you don't have to add your own listing. You can add Jerry's listings, you can add, anyone's listings. You just get them from the MLS. So you give it some catchy title like Covina Charmer. Something to get them to open it, right? And then you put the link from the MLS in here. But, okay, we go into the MLS in a way that only agents can, right? So in order to get the link that your clients can open, you have to email it to yourself, and then you'll get the right link. You can just copy and paste it in there. And then again, the description isn't very many characters, so just keep it really concise. Only the facts. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, pool home, or whatever it takes to get them to open it. Anytime you do your own, whenever you do your own, you always want to make sure you hit save. If you don't hit save, it always reverts back to what it was before. So if you guys have any questions about getting it from the MLS to here, I can help you with that, but it kind of has to be when you're doing it, or else it's just a lot of information. Okay, so down here with the articles and advice, same thing. You can browse for articles. Okay, so anything you make yourself is going to say custom. So these are all the articles that we've written ourselves. Any of the ones that come from CAR are going to say articles and advice. And they work the same way as the features. The date will tell you when they've gone in. You click on them to read them. And just make sure that they apply. You can also use other people's articles. You know, say you get a great flyer from your lender, or you know, you read a great article in Realtor Magazine or something like that. You can put those in there too. You just have to credit them. Don't steal people's articles. I doubt there's any plagiarism police out there, but you really just shouldn't do it. And the way you do that is, again, you hit the add button, give it a headline. If it's an article that you're borrowing from someone, then make sure you use their exact headlines and put who it's by. And then you can just copy and paste the bulk of the article into the text box. And then you can use these just like any other, you know, email or, you know, Word program. These are all the normal bold and italics and things like that. You can use all that stuff. You always want to hit save. And then this is the way they come out. So this article here was an article that we wrote, and when I say we, I mean me, for Jerry's newsletter, and it talked about our past client appreciation night that we had. You can add a picture to these articles, but you have to do it after you save it. And then you go back in and a little button comes up on the bottom that says add a photo. So normally what Jerry and I try to do with our newsletter is let me open it so you can see it. Okay, like I said, I've been putting like a seasonal picture up here. So around Christmas time, I've been doing houses. So I had a house that was decorated for Christmas. This one just looked winter but not Christmassy to me, so I used that one. Next I'm going to use a spring, you know, probably something with lots of flowers out front or something. Then we usually try to do 2 articles from Carr. If Jerry has listings, I put Jerry's listings in. If you guys have listings, I put your listings in. And then if there's no listings that I want to use from our group, then I just go on the MLS and I find something that I like. Usually something that's close by. You know, if you're going to show a house, you might as well show it in your neighborhood. So I usually pick something in the Covina, Glendora area. And again, people are going to assume if you put it in your newsletter that it's yours. So make sure it's a good listing. Don't pick a listing that doesn't have any pictures or has, you know, little or no description or, you know, looks like something that you wouldn't have done. Pick a good one. And then what we normally like to do is we do some kind of an article. If there's something going on, you know, like the past client appreciation night, we do an article about that. We do a new buyers club. We didn't have any sellers this month, and so normally I have new buyers club, and then I also have a thank you to our latest seller. And so I do some type of article. And why do I do that? Why do I put people in, I do put their names in, but I never put first and last. I either use Mr. and Mrs. and their last name, or I use their first names only. Because you never know how much information people really want out there. And I never name their children. So, and of course you don't put the address. You might say, you know, good luck in your new Covina home, but you're not going to say, you know, 123 Main Street, Covina. You know, you don't want to give too much personal information for someone else. But, so why do I put the names in there? Why do I talk about our buyers and sellers? For one, are you more likely to show the newsletter to your friends and family if your name's in it? Heck yeah. Look, they wrote an article about me. So people will share the newsletter more likely if they're in it. People will read the newsletter more likely if they think that they might know someone that's in it. And also, I usually, especially with, well, actually with buyers and sellers, but especially with buyers, I usually tell the story a very specific way. I will tell the story of how they came to us. If they were a referral, I'll name the person that referred them. What does that do? That immediately puts in people's minds, oh, I should be referring Jerry. Oh, I can refer Jerry. Oh, I have a friend that's moving too, you know, or whatever. So the reason for everything you put in there is to sell yourself. Say we had a really hard time finding Rob, our client, a house. You know, some realtors would say, well, you don't want to tell your clients that it was a hard time. Well, yeah, you do. Tell the story about how, oh, you know, we looked at so many houses and Rob just had a really hard time because he had to be in this specific area. And what is that telling people? It's telling people that Jerry, your neighborhood realtor, sticks with you no matter how long it takes. No matter, you know, what issues come up, Jerry's going to handle it. You know, so you want to get used to telling the story in a way that sells you, but sounds like you're just telling the story. Does that make sense? Yeah. And again, I can help you with that if, I know sometimes it's hard for people in the beginning to do that. And it's hard, it's counterintuitive for us to try to sell ourselves. But that's exactly what you need to do. It's a little bit easier. See, I can say, oh, Jerry's a great realtor. But Jerry can't write, oh, I'm a great realtor, right? There's a difference. So, but there's a way to say things without really saying them. So we normally do those articles. And then I usually, depending, if we have a lot of stuff to go in the newsletter that we've written ourselves, then I don't put hardly any articles from CAR in there. If we don't have a lot of stuff, then I fill it up with the stuff in CAR. But you don't want to overload the newsletter either, because if people open it up and it looks like, you know, it's a book that's this long, they're not going to read it. They're not going to look through it. So you want to make sure that you put enough information so that there's something that might appeal to everyone. Longer you can keep them in the newsletter, the longer they're thinking about you. But there again, I think Jerry touched on it earlier, even if they never open the newsletter, if they're getting the newsletter once a month consistently, if they do nothing but open it and go, oh, there's Jerry's newsletter again, delete, they've thought of Jerry at least once a month. Right? Does that make sense? So, any questions about the newsletter so far? Any questions about how to do anything? What's that thing? What's this thing down at the bottom? CAR puts in this video for us, which is, I guess, both good and bad. The good thing is you don't have to do it. It makes your newsletter look a lot more professional. The downside to it is you can't change it. So if you don't like it, too bad, it just goes out with the newsletter. But they're usually pretty good. They're really short. It usually just has some kind of tidbit. And it just plays like this. Because it's tax time, right? Everyone's thinking about taxes.
Even certain upgrades. And that can make tax time a good time. Get more Money Logic at houselogic.com.
See, they're real short, they're easy to do, easy to watch. All this stuff, the mortgage calculator, you know, these things, those all stay there. Real estate glossary, it's all the different real estate terms. Q&A, that gets changed. And then they can print, share down here. Okay, now sending this out. So the way we send this out is, see this link up here? This is the link to your newsletter. It's always the same. So it doesn't matter if you click on this link this month or 12 months from now, it's going to take your clients right to your newsletter. So you have to, that's another reason why you have to be updating your newsletter. You don't want your clients to see last month's newsletter and think that you're not doing anything. So you can copy and paste this into an email. You can paste it into a letter that you've done in your whatever CRM program, your CRM is called? CRM program that you're working with. You can paste that link on Facebook, and it will put your newsletter on Facebook. But it's always this link. So if you have a template that you're using for the letter that you're emailing out, then that link can always be the same. The way we like to do it is we turn that link into a hyperlink, so that all they have to do is click on that, or actually I turn a picture into the hyperlink. And it's usually this picture. It's a picture of the newsletter. So that, again, it's recognition. They're seeing the same, they're seeing the real estate buzz coming in their email every month.